Jury deliberations have been slow and painstaking in the sexual assault trial of comedian Bill Cosby. The jury asked Wednesday to review the testimony that accuser Andrea Constand gave on the stand last week. Cosby, seen here entering court Wednesday morning, faces 3 felony counts of aggravated indecent assault. CBS News correspondent Jericka Duncan has been covering the trial from Norristown, Pennsylvania. So, Jericka, we have a 3rd day of deliberations and still no verdict. Is this a good or bad sign for Bill Cosby?
Legal experts will tell you that it's hard to determine whether it's good or bad. These jurors keep coming back with more and more questions. We're now at 6 questions, the most recent, the testimony from Andrea Constand that she gave at the trial regarding the first interview she gave to police about what allegedly happened. The most recent question that the jurors had surrounds the testimony from Cosby's first police interview. So again, the judge called what the jurors are doing as very conscious, deliberate, and this is what he wants to see. This is what justice is all about. They're taking their time, they're asking questions, they're going through the evidence, they're asking for testimony to be reread to them that they're not clear on. They're asking questions. So as for where they are, we know that they're obviously not on one accord. We don't have a verdict, so we're waiting to hear what's next. We were just told by a court official that we're going to go back in and find out if they have another question. But it's very interesting. I think a lot of people assumed that because we moved through this so quickly, on Monday, these jurors were able to deliberate for 4 hours. Everything seemed to be moving so quickly. Each side very passionate about their argument, very clear about why the jury should acquit Bill Cosby, but then again the prosecution came in. They were the last to be heard and basically laid out the law and laid out why they believe this is an easy case for a jury to decide that Bill Cosby was in fact involved in a sexual assault and should be convicted, again, according to the prosecutor and the way that they laid out this case. So we're waiting, we're watching like so many people to get the very latest, but right now, no verdict. The jurors have had dinner, but they continue to deliberate at this hour.
Well, Jericka, the jury also seemed to concentrate on the comedian's 2005 deposition after the alleged assault. What questions were they asking about that?
Well, in that 2005 deposition, Cosby lays out his romantic interest in Andrea Constand. He talks about the relationship that they had, describes it as romantic, consensual. He talks about the several times that Andrea Constand and him spent time alone, be it the Foxwood Casino, be it at his personal home. So he lays out what his intentions were. He does talk about in the 70s giving a woman Quaaludes. He does talk about the idea of using Quaaludes to have sex with women, but never actually says that he used Quaaludes to have sex with women. The defense actually mentioned that in their closing argument and said, you know, what does what somebody said in the 70s have to do with Andrea Constand in 2004? So those were some of the questions that were being raised in the closing arguments. Perhaps the jurors, again, wanted to see that evidence again, reread that evidence, and I think it's different to hear it and to see it without hearing the other side again and then another rebuttal, which is what we actually had in the trial. This is the jurors being able to really focus on what was said, rereading what was said, and then going back to deliberate and figure out how that changes, whether they're going to go one way or the other.
Well, Jericka, Cosby is facing 3 felony counts of indecent aggravated assault. Jurors focused on count 3, which is about how the drugs were allegedly administered. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the jurors wanted the judge to better define the wording was without the consent. The judge essentially said that the facts are in front of you. I really can't do anything more at this point. So he sent the jurors back to deliberate more, and that's when they came back with that 4th question yesterday. But again, the most 2 recent questions that they've addressed is they wanted to hear the testimony from Andrea Constand that she gave to police, but what she talked about here at trial. And then they asked to hear the testimony from Cosby's first police interview. So those are the most 2 recent questions that have come up here today. Elaine?
All right, Jericka Duncan in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Jericka, thanks.